Hi everyone, it's Rain here from Rain's Kitchen and Garden. I'm out in my garden again today. It's mid-May and today is potato and onion day. I ordered a bunch of potato seeds and onion sets and I'm going to be planting most of those today. But first I want to tell you about my hat. It's a straw hat. The brand is Resistol and the line is George Strait, the country singer. I love this hat. It's perfect for gardening because it doesn't make my head hot. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you about my hat. So the first thing I'm going to do today is plant my French Fingerling potatoes. This is a French Fingerling potato seed. As you can see, they do not have very obvious eyes. They kind of have indentations, but according to the seed company, that's the way they're supposed to look. These are a red variety of potato with yellow skin. The other variety of potato that I purchased was Norland potatoes, and these are a bit bigger, the seeds. They have obvious eyes. These are also a red skin variety with a white flesh. I really like red potatoes, so that's why I bought them. I also bought onion sets. This is what they look like when they come to you. There's about 100 little onions in here, onion seeds, and a lot of them have already sprouted. That's what they look like. This is my first year planting onion sets, and I had no idea there was going to be 100 in the bag. So now I'm in a pickle because I've got to figure out where I'm going to be planting them. So I'll get to the planting after, but first I want to tell you how I prepared my potatoes. When you get your seed potatoes, you could, if they're small, for example, this one's tiny, you can plant that one as is. But if they're bigger potatoes, you're going to have to cut them. And so this was a big one. This is a piece that I cut. Make sure they all have either eyes or indentations in them. You cut them up into little pieces. This is maybe a little bit of a big piece. Here's another piece that I cut up. And as you can see here, they've kind of formed a leathery skin on them. And that's because after I cut them, I put them in a paper bag and I roll it up and I leave it on top of my fridge for 2 to 3 days. And every day I shake them around so they don't stick together, and they do develop this nice leathery skin on them. And this is supposed to help to prevent rot and disease. Some people will plant them directly into the ground when they get them. They will plant them directly into the ground right after they cut them, or some people let them cure for 2 days, 3 days, 6 days, 10 days. I don't know which method is the best one, but basically I've been successful by curing them for 2 to 3 days like this. So today I'm going to be able to plant the French Fingerling potatoes and my onion sets, but for my Norland potatoes, today what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them, making sure that I have eyes on every piece. Oh, it's starting to rain. It's going to be rain and shine today and rain for the next 4 days, but I don't really have a choice. I have to kind of start going on this. When you receive your seeds and your sets, you can't really sometimes choose when you can plant them. So this one I've cut into 4 pieces, and every piece has an eye on it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these in a paper bag and I'm going to leave them in there for 3 days and shaking them up every day to make sure they don't stick together. And in 3 days I'll be able to plant them. I had to put my head net on because the black flies are driving me bananas. I'm just getting my raised bed ready to plant my onion sets. I already have some chives growing here, and they overwintered and they're very strong and they're growing really nicely. I'm just going to leave them be, and we're going to try to harvest them next year because I'd like them to be really, really strong and have a good root system. So basically I had my raised beds covered with cardboard boxes or wood chip mulch all winter. I've taken all of that out and I've dug up all the weeds that got through, and now I'm just taking a pitchfork and I'm mixing up all the compost and soil together to get that soil ready for the onion sets. When you're planting onions, You only have to plant them 1/2 inch into the soil, and they should be 2 inches apart. This is what the seed company recommended for these particular onions, the Red Karmen Onion sets. So I have to make sure that I have enough room for all of my onions so that they're all 2 inches apart, but I also have to make sure that the soil is deep enough for them to grow. Right now, my soil comes up to about 5 inches. That's not deep enough for an onion to root and grow. They need about 2 feet of soil to grow in. Ideally 3, but I don't have 3, so I bought some of this topsoil. I got it at Walmart. It was 4 bags for $6, I think, and here in this area that's a good price. So I'm going to top all of my compost and soil mix up with topsoil until I get it to 2 feet high. And I know what 2 feet high is because that's the top of my raised bed here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I was looking at the instructions on the package on how to plant these, and it does say every 2 inches. Now, this for me, for onions, it seems a little too close. And because I have a nice big raised bed here, it's 8 feet by 5 feet, I think I have enough room to plant them maybe 6 inches apart. So I'm just going to go ahead and plant them 6 inches apart. And I'm just putting them on top of the soil every 6 inches. I think that, I don't know, for me that's a little more reasonable. That'll give them room to grow. And then I'm just going to put some soil over them, pushing them down about 1/2 inch into the soil and covering them up with that topsoil. And that's it, pushing them all the way in. I'm trying not to break them as I push them in, of course. You might want to make a little hole with your finger, push them in there. Down they go with some topsoil on top. That's a nice big one. I thought I would get a reprieve from the black flies now that the sun is out, but no such luck. This area has so many black flies. If you don't have a net on your face, you're in trouble. I try not to wear too much of that chemical stuff, DEET, you know, but if I'm in the woods walking the dogs, walking Jack, I need to put DEET on. Otherwise, you know, they bite you. They really bite hard. So after black fly season, it's deer fly season, and then after deer fly season, it's mosquito season. I think fall is my favorite season just because all the bugs are gone. But you find ways around it. Well, now it's time for me to plant my French Fingerling potatoes. As you can see behind me, I have a whole bunch of tires. I plant my potatoes in tires. I use them as raised beds. I know a lot of people have concerns about that, worried that toxins might leach into the soil. I personally am not concerned with that. I wash these tires really well, and considering the amount of toxins and plastics we probably consume every day in our food and in our drink and all that, really this does not concern me, and it works really, really well. What I do is, maybe you can see behind, I have some cardboard that I put down. I put the tires on top of the cardboard. That will help the weeds not, you know, infiltrate the soil. And then I fill the tires up with about 6 inches of just topsoil. I place the potato seeds with the eyes pointed up about 12 inches apart, so I can fit 4 seeds in each tire. And then I top it up with about 2 to 3 inches of topsoil and I leave it. And when the plant starts to grow through the topsoil, I put another tire on top and then I fill it with soil again. And that's how I hill the potatoes. It really works well and I get a great harvest every year. I have 41 seeds, so I have to use 10 tires today. To be frugal, I try to keep my cardboard boxes every year until they absolutely disintegrate, because I don't like to hold on to boxes at home. They just take up too much space. So if I can keep the ones that I used in the last season, and if they're still good, I'll use them. And I'm putting basically 2 rows of tires here. They need a lot of sun, so make sure you put them in an area that has a lot of sun. So there are my potato raised beds all ready for the soil. Make sure you check the tires for slugs because they like to live in there. Got a few slugs here. You don't want those in your soil eating up your potato seeds. Each bag of the topsoil that I have is 25 liters, and I have regular size tires. So I use anywhere from 1.5 to 2 bags of soil per tire to reach the 6-inch mark. And because my bags have been in the rain, they're soaking wet, so I don't even have to water my potatoes after I plant them. Well, as you can see, the net's back on. The black flies came back. They missed me that much. I'm just taking a breather now, and I wanted to mention something about soil and tires. As far as tires go, I haven't met a mechanic yet where he or she has a huge pile of old tires that he or she is willing to give away. They're not going to charge you for it. They will very gladly let you take them. Trust me on that one. Also soil. Usually I wouldn't purchase this much soil, but my land is red clay and rock. It doesn't make for good gardening. And also, we bought this house 2 years ago. I've mentioned in a previous video that the first summer I had a huge garden all ready to go, and then we had to get our well drilled, and that well dust just covered the entire garden, and then it rained and the well dust basically turned to cement, so my garden completely died. The only thing that survived was the garlic and the asparagus. Otherwise I didn't have any of my crops. So last summer I was a little discouraged and I didn't feel like going through it all again, so I didn't have a garden last summer. I just harvested my garlic, and I planted a few herbs and some lettuces and pots, and that was really all I did. But this year I decided to do the whole enchilada, so I'm doing everything, and I budgeted everything out to plan to buy a lot of soil. And so hopefully in the future I'm not going to have to buy any more soil. I can reuse this soil by adding nutrients to it and compost. At least that's the plan. So this is kind of the garden that I'm establishing now, and I hope to have it going at minimal cost from now on. When you have a whole potato, a small potato that you haven't cut up, you can just put it in the ground and point the eyes up. When you have a cut piece, don't put it cut side up, put it eye side up. And as I mentioned, I can fit 4 plants in each tire. And I have a bigger tire over there that I'm going to put 5 because I actually have 41 little seeds here. So I'm going to have an extra one, so I'm going to just put it in the big one. Now I'm just going to top it with 2 to 3 inches of topsoil. I decided since I had the energy and I'm dirty, I may as well put the second tire on top while I have the energy, because I know I'm going to be very busy in the upcoming weeks. Now that I have the second layer of tires on, I don't have to worry about them growing, and I can just add dirt whenever the plants start growing through the earth. What a job, but it's done. But I still have my Norland potatoes I have to think about. I only have 5 tires left, and I think I have 38 pieces. I cut 38 pieces of the Norland potatoes this morning to dry out, so I may have to visit my mechanic and get 15 more tires. Either that, or I might put them in one of my raised beds. I haven't decided yet, but I will definitely do a video on it. I'm really excited about the potato harvest this year, and my onion harvest. I hope that goes really well too. I just want to show you my asparagus, and then I'll say goodbye. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!